So we're looking at Unit 3, which is called Balancing Precariously on a Grammar Tightrope, the Noun Deep Dive. Remember that we're moving our way through each of the four form classes and doing a deep dive into each. So we just completed our deep dive into verbs, and now we're going to do a deep dive into nouns. So our author lets us know that all the noun phrases, which we call the NP, noun phrase slots, that we've learned up to this point through Chapter 2, um, are actually called nominal slots. It's kind of a minor detail, but we found that when we talk about a subject or a direct object, an indirect object, the subject complement, which we refer to as the predicate nominative, like a pattern 3 or a pattern 5, the object complement, like a pattern 10, or the object of preposition, well, we've been putting nouns in there. But the author kind of says, hey, they don't have to be nouns. They may be filled with other words or phrases that are not exactly nouns. And that's the reason why we call them nominals. And the idea that it's a nominal slot, but that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a noun. So there are other things that we'll find in this chapter as we look into chapter 7. We kind of jump ahead in our book of chapter 7. We're going to take a look at the appositive. We're going to take a look at the gerund phrase, the nominal phrase. We'll find there are clauses, which we're going to call a nominal clause. And then chapter 7 will finish with what we call the anticipatory it. But these are all structures which are not literally nouns, but they're noun-like, meaning that a noun is one option that we have. But now we find that there are other options that we would use. So they're all part of a bigger category, which we'll refer to as a nominal. So today we're going to start off with the appositive. So if I take a look at this example sentence, which reads, we easily diverted Mr. Marsh's focus by mentioning his favorite topic, NASCAR. Well, in this case, the word NASCAR seems to be renaming the word topic. If I said, what's the object of this prepositional phrase by mentioning his favorite topic, what happens is the word NASCAR seems to be renaming the word topic. They seem to be sharing the same position, and we call that an appositive. A positive basically means it's a noun or some kind of noun structure, which is really renaming another noun. If I said, knowing this unit would be difficult, the class chipped in and tried to get on Mr. Marsh's good side with a gift of bribery, a dozen donuts from Byler's Donuts. Well, the word donuts seems to be renaming gift. You're like, what's the gift? It's the gift which was the donuts. So in this case, the word gift and donuts are sharing the same position. And that's what the word appositive means. Appositive basically means two words which are sharing the same position. Pos or posit in Latin means to place and to put. And so we've placed or put this noun next to another noun to share the same position. If I said the contents in the bottom right drawer of Mr. Marsh's desk, an unhealthy assortment of gummies and sweets, mysteriously disappeared over the weekend. Once again, here's this word assortment. One thing I want to draw your attention to in these first three examples is that the appositive sometimes is right next to the noun it's actually renaming, and sometimes it's a little further away. So that's what's happening here is the word assortment is a little farther away than the noun it's actually renaming. It's not renaming unhealthy. It's not renaming my desk. It's renaming contents. The contents, or in this case, the assortment of gummies and sweets mysteriously disappeared over the weekend. So you can see that the word assortment is renaming the word contents. And so we call this an appositive. So you're thinking, okay, why do I need to know this? Well, oftentimes when we're writing sentences, we repeat words unnecessarily. And on the SAT, they'll oftentimes will ask us questions about combining sentences. And when they ask us to combine sentences, they're oftentimes asking us in a very subtle way, could we create an appositive? So let's take a look at an example sentence. The homecoming king and queen demanded their own lunch table that would be separate from the under-deodorized masses. They are our own student royalty, like William and Kate. Well, what they're asking us to do is, could we combine these two sentences to create an appositive? Meaning, could I take something in sentence 2 and add it into sentence 1? So sentence 1 is never going to change, and it's true also on the SAT. Sentence 1 doesn't change. It's sentence 2 that has to somehow find a way into sentence 1 and kind of nestle its way in there in a creative way. So I look for ways of taking part of sentence 2 and embedding it into sentence 1. I realize that our own student royalty, like William and Kate, is renaming homecoming king and queen. So in a sense, I want to take that phrase and shove it into that sentence in sentence 1. I want to try to get it as close as possible to the noun that it's renaming. So I want to try to get the appositive as close as possible to the noun if I can. So when I shove this into the sentence, you'll notice I'm not going to take the they and the are. And appositive is basically a nominal phrase, meaning it's based around nouns. And so I don't want to bring any verbs with it. So the word are is a verb, so I'm going to leave it where it is. And I'm not going to bring the word they. I'm just going to bring this underlined section into the first sentence. So I end up saying something like, the homecoming king and queen, our own student royalty like William and Kate, demanded their own lunch table that would be separate from the underdeodorized masses. So the white part of the sentence hasn't changed. That's sentence one. What I've done is I've taken part of sentence two and I've shoved it into sentence one to make it a tighter sentence. So our task today is to take two sentences, to combine them into one using an appositive, and then to diagram it so we can visually see how the appositive is actually functioning within the sentence. The second task we'll take a look at then will be how to actually punctuate them, because we're going to find that some will take commas and sometimes they won't. Let's take a look at example number one, which reads, her famous Mongolian deep squeeze headlock was placed effortlessly on the sassy teenager at the movie theater concession stand. The Mongolian deep squeeze headlock was Grandma's signature wrestling move. Well, when I read this sentence, I realize that I'm repeating some words unnecessarily. Why would I have to say the Mongolian deep squeeze headlock twice? So in the SAT, if I pick up on the idea that these two phrases this phrase rather is being repeated twice, then when I combine the sentences, I want to find a way that I don't have to repeat it. So therefore, if I cut out the saying Mongolian deep squeeze headlock the second time, maybe what I can do is I can simply take Grandma's signature wrestling move and insert this into the first sentence because it's basically renaming the headlock. I want to try to get Grandma's signature wrestling move as close to the word headlock as possible. So it might end up something like her famous Mongolian deep squeeze headlock, Grandma's signature wrestling move, was placed effortlessly, it's hard to say, on the sassy teenager at the movie theater concession stand. Ultimately, I'm going to add in some commas to this, and we'll talk about why next. But now I can see that this becomes my full sentence. We could actually diagram this one. It's in passive voice, but we certainly could diagram it. So I'm going to pause my video and restart another one to show you how to diagram it, and then we'll move on to try diagramming numbers 2 through 4 on our worksheet by making those into positives and then showing how we actually diagram them to visually understand how the positive works.